To the Sloppy Lab. We have a very fun match that we're going to be watching here tonight, or this morning, or whenever it happens to be that you're watching. Let me adjust my audio real quick. Okay, hopefully that's better. This is between JDG314, our very own Sloppy Lab worker, and DaveC, two very strong players battling it out in the Bronze Alpha division for that qualifier slot. So this is the final round of the group stage, and both of these players are in contention. JDG has 12 wins and 0 losses so far, very impressive. DaveC, 10 wins, 2 losses, and it's looking as though JDG has to make at least one game win in this 3-game series in order to secure a spot. DaveC looking to go 3-0 and snag that qualifier slot. So the very first place finisher from this group stage will advance to the silver division. The next two folks will advance to a qualifier for the gold division. Next two will have a shot at silver, and the remaining 3 in bronze. So at stake here is the chance to skip a season in silver and qualify for gold directly. So very exciting. Should be a great match. Have the bans from these players already. They've already done the bannings. JDG's lineup, lots of very strong decks. Sagacious is a favorite one of mine. Coda Rush, of the same caliber, I would say, as Galaxy. I've played that matchup a couple times in testing, so very, very good deck. And I do see, let's see, looking at the bans, so Sultan Laurent has been banned. Okay, so we have Sultan Laurent and Chandra being banned. Chandra's disappointing to see this one get banned. This is one of my favorite decks to see play. Amphora Captura and Transporter Platform and Quixelstone. The interaction between Amphora Captura and Animator, which is also in here, is just delightful. So all of your capture pips will throw Amber onto a animated artifact where it is effectively sunk. So it turns those captures more or less into amber loss directly. So very cool. You see these amber piles stacking up on an artifact with nowhere to go, but we will not see that game. Instead, we have a different matchup. So let's see if I can tell the first one. So don't know yet. We'll see shortly. But Sultan Laurent and Chandra has been banned. Daniel Sombra has been saved. So this deck here, which I am not terribly familiar with. And on Dave's side, Roussel and the Chinese deck, I think, has been banned. I'm sorry if I'm... Oh, sorry. This one. So our 93 SAS deck has been banned, as well as Roussel. Slight namesake. Slight stretch namesake, so it would be fun if that got played. But Dave, my namesake's getting banned. You might as well give it to me. Talk to me after the match, you know. But anyway, first up here, their players are selecting decks. Not sure yet what is on the table or what has been selected. Oh, we may have some folks joining us here. Hop in the chat, please do. All right, hang on, folks. Maybe bring in one other player, one other commentator to the stream here. So I'm just going to mute myself for a moment. All right, here we go. Game's getting ready to start, and it looks like Quick Draw may be joining us, so that's exciting. Players are wondering when they can get going. Just going to let them know that we may get Quick Draw in there as well. And I have to find a headset. Sloppy lab work indeed. Okay, folks, sorry for going dark there for a second. We've got Quick Draw joining shortly. Just kind of wrangling some last minute technical things. I'll be killing my video, anticipating that one coming in. cool. And Dave and JDG being very gracious. I think we had hoped to get started a little earlier, though I was advertising within the team 9:30 start time, so we're ahead of schedule still. Hopefully not annoying our players too much, but I take full blame for the confusion here. But we can take a quick look at the decks that our players have selected here. So we've got Scaremonger from JDG, the Scaremonger that magnifies nerds. This is a very cool deck, another one of JDG's magical decks, if you will. So this one has a really nice interaction between the Calipigian ideal. Calipigian. Pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. Ideal, and all of the capture plus your reassembling automaton. So, in a perfect world, your reassembling automaton is going to go Voltron, slap an ideal on that automaton, and just keep loading amber on it. You've got tons of ways to capture in this Saurian house. So you've got the Failing Strike, City State, Golden Spiral to get multiple uses, and the ideal itself, which is going to tuck one on there. So that's very cool. It's also very capable of making big, scary Star Alliance boards, and that Maverick, Harbinger of Doom, can become crucial in some matchups. So let's take a look at what DaveC is running. So we have, pardon my ignorance, but I'm going to say another Chinese deck from Age of Ascension. Double Ronnie, double Routine Job, Bren the Fanatic with Life for Life. So tons of steel going on here. Looking at you, Odoak, to do some work. Okay, gonna get situated with Quick Draw here. All right, folks, and we are here. Quick Draw and JT Russell, getting excited to watch a very cool match here. Going to tell the players that we're good to go.
All right, this is a great idea. Some team stream here in a pretty big game for the Hexad. I assume you've already done all the introductions on the format and the decks and everything like that.
Yeah, a little bit. I wasn't sure what decks would be selected here. We did talk through the bans, so a little sad to see Chandra get banned. I love that deck. Watching that deck get played, it's kind of one of my favorites of JDG's. Ooh, this is exciting. I have control over both of our videos, so I can kind of toss them around independently. Okay, but yeah, we do have this match is for some stakes. So the chance for a qualifier for the gold division and skipping the silver division entirely. So both these players at the top of the bracket and looking to come out at the tippity top, depending on the outcome here.
So can you fill me in? The bands were which ones?
So let's see if I can switch on back over without without messing up the video. So Chandra and Sultan Laurent were banned, and on Dave's side, the 93 SAS Chinese deck was banned. I believe I'm gonna have to double check which one of these was banned, which one was saved, and also Roussel.
He's playing the AOA Chinese one right now. So the 93 one, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roussel was the other band.
Yep. Yep.
Interesting. All right.
Very cool. So Zenzi right off the bat, very cool to see. I do love Scaremonger. You know, I was commenting that all of JDG's decks have like this magical element. So Scaremonger has the Calipigian ideal. I don't know how often I say Calipigian out loud. I guess I don't have too much too much.
I had to look the word up when the set came out.
Yeah, you know, I just looked it up recently, and I was, I don't know, pleasantly surprised, and the artwork made a whole lot more sense. So.
It really does if you look it up. No spoilers, but if you don't know what that word means, look it up and check out the picture again.
Yeah, definitely do. Definitely do. Ooh, okay. So Dave taking care of some of JDG's board here. Bye bye Zenzi. The automaton's still kicking around, and that automaton is crucial to game plan, or at least really forwards it nicely. So that ideal we're hoping to see land on the automaton at some point. A big old Voltron getting assembled there. Although I think you could, let's see, do we have an encounter suit in this deck? I want to say there's just the Light of the Archons and Medic Ingram. Yes, no encounter suit. But
one thing I was looking for in whatever matchup Scaremonger had, because I didn't expect Scaremonger to get the ban, was I was looking to see if there was any bounce, and there is a couple not call the week, a banish in here,
mm-hmm.
which means that the automaton's not going to be totally safe. Um, so I don't know if I'm JDG, if I'm going to like go all in on the game plan of the ideal on the automaton and like
Mm-hmm.
exalt and capture on that one directly. I think he might probably want to spread it out a bit, at least until the banish is gone. Although there's two Nepenthe seeds as well, which is going to pretty much make it unsafe all game, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think Scaremonger has anything to do with artifact.
Yeah, so JDG's entire lineup has virtually no R in it. There's like zero point 0.5 R in one deck, and that's it. So, um, yeah, Dave's artifacts are going to run wild tonight.
That's got to be the animator. Yeah, that's the animator giving him that 0.5. Yeah. So interesting. Yeah. So we do see the ideal on the automaton, but yeah, some bounce to be dealt with, and I think actually the Odoak is going to be a crucial card here. We may, I don't know. Would love to see some of the wards getting sent there, even at the expense of the automaton eating a bounce.
Yeah, agreed. And you know, I thought I missed out on all the fun of the lineup. I know it's like a huge process with the bands. They have like a great site for it and everything like that. There was one of the other things I was wondering about was Odoak being like possibly a thorn in Dave's side tonight, and if he would have banned one of the two Odoak decks, and I think he did not. So JDG still has two Odoak decks at his disposal, and Dave's got a lot of steel going on. So
yeah, absolutely. And now, if there is a deck that's well suited to deal with the Odoaks, this one definitely is decently suited. So you've got the bounce in. Is there lights out? No lights out here. Is there? No.
No.
So no lights out. So what is?
I think it's just the banish.
Just the banish. Interesting.
I think that might be it. But I mean, with two seeds and two glimmers, he hasn't found it yet. But
yeah, two seeds and two glimmers. Oof.
I wanted to. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to ask you about this deck specifically that Dave's playing. I saw it when I looked at the lists of all of these tonight. I saw this one as some pretty good ban bait, and I thought the Heart of the Forest might be like a red flag for a lot of players to look at and be like, man, I don't want to play against that. But you've played a lot of Heart of the Forest. Is this one of those decks that can really like do the Heart of the Forest stall and win on it? Doesn't
So
look like it to me.
there's not a well. So you have the Library of the Dan, which is is that his only archiving? Might be the only archiving in this deck.
It's got one random archive, a sucker punch, but yeah, it's just the library.
So the thing is, against Heart of the Forest, one repeatable archiving just turns into arbitrary archiving, right? So you have to imagine that if Dave does get Heart of the Forest down, and we haven't got to key 2 yet, there is a world where he just sits there and archives his entire deck, and then you kind of have to think through, okay, like what can I do when I have my entire deck in my hand, or if I have a specifically crafted set of 6 cards, right? Can I archive the rest of my deck to leave me with 6 cards that can be played repeatedly to make a key? Like that's a really interesting play, right? So I have the Full Moon, the Nepenthe Seed, Glimmer. It doesn't look.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have a ton of burst, right? I
Doesn't
mean,
have a
I
ton of
think
burst.
once JDG would get to a point where he's making like 30 to 40 amber, I don't think there's anything that this deck will be able to do about it. It might just be there's no time limit in the game, but I don't
Yeah,
think that he can really get around that. There's no scaling A in here. There's the key cheat, but like you said, like there's not really a ton of synergy to burst up and untamed to do that.
yeah. The key cheat is interesting. I think JDG's biggest tool against Heart of the Forest, or at least most obvious tool. So we've got some key cost increases, and we've got some warding. So there's a world where, or not warding, some exalting. So there's a world where Dave plays the heart, and then JDG says, "Okay, I'm gonna force you into key 2 uh, by killing off some of my own exalted creatures, and then hopefully I've not given you so much amber, or you don't have are not able to burst to that key cheat." Um, that's a possibility. I don't know, to be honest with you. I think this is one where I have to really really dig through and see if it's viable. The Song of Spring is interesting in that you can put creatures right back into the deck to be redrawn, but there's no punctuated equilibrium or anything like that to supercharge, a 6 card untamed hand, assuming
Yeah.
you've archived everything else. So I don't know. It's interesting too. Dave has very often said that he's got a deck with Heart of the Forest that is awesome, but he never plays Heart, and I'm wondering if this is it. It could
I mean,
very well
this is
be.
a straight value deck. Like, there's tons of good
Yeah.
plays. You saw like that turn just there with the shadows was massive. I mean, he took JDG from 6 amber to 0, and he stole a bunch, and he's at 12 now. Um, so that was a huge turn and had nothing to do with heart. So this deck's like got a lot of legs to it, and I don't think the heart is really the reason for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see Heart being something you play, almost as it was intended when designed, or we have to hope it was intended when designed, right? So kind of fairly, like maybe I'm behind, I'm going to play it to catch up or to stop you or what have you, and give myself a chance to get together. But you're not like looking for a degenerate end game where you archive everything and then do one big burst and forge 2 keys in one turn. Yeah, yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting. And I have to wonder
so
what that archive card is. Maybe he just tucks the heart away and threatens it, and
it's
uh,
possible. Maybe
yeah,
it could give him a little bit of time to like find the shadow steel. Um, it's unfortunate for JDG that he didn't have his other Garcia there, although he's managed to capture everything with the city state. So maybe he's got some time to delay and end up taxing later. But Dave was wise, I think, to take out the Garcia last turn when he did.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, that city state's very interesting. And now we've got Dave back to 2 from a burst to 12, and the ward comes down on Thero, which is interesting. So Thero has the 4. JDG, I guess, being wary of the banish.
Mm. Yeah, well, there's the heart. Okay. So the heart is going to be a factor at least. It's not the one that he archived. Um, I don't know. I still think with the Calipigeon, I still probably would have warded the automaton.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess maybe he's just trying to protect the 4 that's already on that Thero with the Scutum.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm trying to position this to not be overlapping. Okay. Um, interesting. Interesting. So perhaps another likely candidate is that okay. So key charge is in discard, full moon's in discard. Key charge would be a very nice candidate for that. And Dave getting very low on deck here. Both players
Yeah,
getting
he
close to shuffling.
just shuffled back the Glimmer and the Witch of the Wilds, which tells you, I think he chose to do those. So Song of Spring is not an option. It is an optional one, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he
Yep.
chose to get back the Glimmer and the Witch of the Wilds. Um, he still has his other Glimmer in deck. The Witch of the Wilds, though, seems like a pretty key card. Like if we're looking at different heart lines, I think Witch of the Wilds might be a key to that, because you could maybe like burst up in the shadows like we saw him do, and then use a key charge off of that. So JDG should keep an eye on that if the Witch of the Wilds is something that ever hits the board late in a heart situation to try to get rid of it quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's take a look at the board control options on this deck. So what do we really have? It's not a ton. You've got lots of point removal, but no wipes. So I feel like protecting that witch is going to be a pretty tall order. Um, but we'll see. Yeah, it's possible. And Dave not being shy of going to two key territory or range with his bursts.
Yeah, he's there for sure. And there's the banish on the automaton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can ask JDG about that later. I don't know if I'm not saying it's a mistake, but it was definitely a decision on what to word there. I think not an easy one either.
Yeah, definitely not an easy one. And with all the steel, automaton is a little bit of amber protection alongside your Odoac. Um, though yeah, you really got to worry about banish. And with double seed, okay, there's no such thing as ward being totally safe for your creature.
Mhm.
Just gonna eat a seed. But yeah, really interesting here.
Yeah,
Heart
let's see if
almost.
yeah, wonder if
Yeah.
he's gonna draw Garcia now. Hope to at least the Kirby's Blaster.
Mm-hmm. So the ideal is now in discard. JTG draws two from Kirby, goes in the
Aha,
tank.
there's the walls, so the walls can get it back. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing is safe. He's got two seeds out, and if he goes back into Dis, then he could just get the banish, seed it, and then play it again. So nothing is safe with an ideal on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think for that reason, I don't know if he has a way of killing the Tesmal, but it might be pretty important just to make sure that he can't do that kind of play.
Yeah, interesting. And worth noting too that uh,
Ah,
da- oh, that's very nice. Stealth mode is
stealth
very
mode.
very clutch here.
Yeah.
Tesmal gets one fight. May have been an oops. Forgot the
Mm,
elusive. Maybe
maybe.
the
Yeah.
wor-
I can't think of another reason to fight it.
So let's see. We've seen one Ronnie of the two. Okay. So perhaps we wanted the ward, but really are expecting a Ronnie here. Or, I mean, there's
Well,
certainly a seed for Ronnie.
Odoac's out, so Ronnie won't do
Ah,
anything.
you're absolutely right.
And the stealth mode turns off any actions to remove Odoac. So that stealth mode is just, I mean, you can't even like. We're going to talk about stealth mode, I think, a lot later. Um, because Dave brought two triple stealth mode decks. One of them did get banned, but
Mm-hmm.
it's such a crazy good card, and that is like a great play for JDG to like get around those banishes that we've talked about. That's a pretty nice setup with the Kirby into the uh, and the walls into the Calipigeon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, really like that play.
Yeah,
But
very
Dave is like
strong.
knocking the door at P2, so um, we've seen him burst twice up from like 4 to 11 or 4 to 12 or whatever it was. So um, yeah, this is not looking like it's going to be a heart game. I think unless JDG wants it to be, but I don't think he does.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too, so supposing JDG decides to be the heart player, sit at key 1 and let Dave sit at key 2, Dave does have that grasping vines. So if he's getting a high amper total, grasping vines is going to come down to pop heart, and key charge will get that third key.
Yeah. And that's, I think, Dave just biding some time to get around that stealth mode. He just played a couple creatures for shadows and didn't do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't steal. I think he's almost about to redraw as well, which would shuffle the banish back in. So
Yeah,
this is an interesting spot here.
I see that from Dave as, okay, I'm gonna get, yeah, exactly, move 2 cards and intentionally not flip my deck, primed for Nepenthe Seed, and Dave will have one more glimmer coming, I think, at least. No, it's both glimmers in hand or archives, right?
Yeah, he shuffled one back in, so he's probably got both of them. Well, maybe that's actually a good point there. He could have archived that one. You want to look at cards to archive? It might be the double alpha cards like that.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, with 2 Nepenthe Seeds, let's say if I get 3 full moon plays, right? Tentadlin and Witch of the Wilds makes me 6 amber, and then I'm just looking for one more pip. I guess the Grasping Vines even, to make that put me in key charge range. Interesting. I don't see 2 keys out of the Untamed yet. But interesting.
So Dave went into check. He just played a Sucker Punch and reaped. So what are you thinking Dave's plan is here? Why is he going into shadows like that and not playing much and not getting tons of value?
So let's see what he's got left. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 shadows cards accounted for. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of our Untamed, 2 of the Glimmers in hand or archive. Interesting. Yeah, it feels like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. One more discard that we are not seeing. It's the Poltergeist. Poltergeist is still to be seen.
Yeah, that's not a good Poltergeist.
No. No, because you're already lashing on your disc turn. Interesting. So JDG's looking to pass the turn and let Dave forge at 8 potentially here. And I think, so interestingly enough, I think maybe Dave's best bet is to do a bunch of stealing. You've got Brand. You can, seed for Brand and Life for Life. You can play 2 routine jobs.
If he plays the Life for Life, okay, so remember he's first got to kill the Odoac no matter what he does.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to pop the ward and then he's got to kill it. He could probably manage to do that with the seed, but I don't know if he's got Life for Life and Brent still in discard.
Right. And he
can fight to get rid of the ward.
He'll probably end up, well, let's see, because he's got the Sucker Punch in archives too. That can eat up the ward, but still that Odoac's big. Even your Life for Life is not taking it out. Yeah, it feels unlikely that Odoac's going to be able to be dealt with enough left over for you to really steal impressively here. It does seem like Dave's setting up for an Untamed turn. 5 of these 8 cards are Untamed. Let me see, 1, 2, 3 on board. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 Untamed cards accounted for. And notably, you've got both Key Charge and Full Moon in discard, so those will each use up an Nepenthe Seed. He's got the Grasping Vines, 2 Glimmers,
Well, he can't go untamed here because he's got to take him off check.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless we're
if he
making
goes dis,
9. Yeah.
yeah, if JDG could have got to 9 last turn, I think that would have done it. Because I think Dave probably needs to go dis and get rid of the Odoak and use the lash to keep him off.
Mm.
Um, I don't think there's an easy way for him to use shadows to get rid of Odoak and to take him off. I don't know if there's a way to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think his last couple turns, he's probably just doing everything he can to not redraw. I think he probably wants the routine job to steal an extra one. He wants the seeds to probably just on the routine jobs, but he wasn't able to kill the Odoak. So, um,
Yeah. So
mhm.
interesting thing here too is dis lets you survive, but I don't know. Are you going to look to flip your deck then, right? Because you don't want you kind of want your seeds to be setting up your win. Like I'm trying to see where the line is there, where you stay alive in dis, but then also leave yourself positioned to win on the next
Right.
turn, because I don't think you're going to get many turns beyond that.
Yeah, it was a really tough couple turns for Dave because I think he's been planning to this, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to piece this together in time.
All right, because dis you've
Like,
got, so he's got Poltergeist in hand. He could archive with Library of the Damned. So we might see Dave actually trying to reshuffle here. I wonder, because
well,
otherwise he gets left with he gets left with 5 untamed, 1 shadows card. The 1 shadows card, I still don't think you're getting rid of Odoak. Yep. Okay, so interesting. Now the question is, do we archive with Library of the Damned to force a shuffle? I don't think
or
that's.
do you seed for banishes here? Is kind of my question.
Mm,
You'd have to use both of them though. You wouldn't shuffle, but and that would turn off like the big routine job turn. He could have played routine job 3 times to steal 6, I believe, if he kept the seeds out, but wasn't able to keep the seeds. He's using one of them now.
yep. So he gets the 1 banish. Okay, Thero
Using that
goes
on
back.
hero. Interesting, but that's not the
Okay.
Thero with the Calipigeon Ideal or the Ward. He did get up to 5, so I think he's
Mm-hmm.
obviously expecting a key charge turn here to walk it off. So I think, well, we know there's a city state in archives right now. He archived that with the Wormhole Technician a little bit ago, and it's also nice. So he's going to probably use Kirby to play that, but it's nice to also go with Garcia here to tax just to make the key charge that much harder.
Yep. Let's see how many pips Dave has. So there is the Grasping Vines. 2 Glimmers are in hand, so those will not be pipped. Although we get a pip back with them. Okay, so let's count another pip from Glimmer. So Dave gets to 7 with just the pips that we know about. And then we've got Full Moon's been spent. So we've got Witch of the Wilds and Tantadlin. Okay.
And don't forget the Curiosity is in discard. If he
Mm-hmm.
needed to get that back, key charge. He needs to use the seed for the key charge. Now he could use the Glimmer for it. Okay, so the Curiosity can kill all the scientists, which is going to be, I guess not. I thought that Kirby and Walls were scientists, but they're not. So
Mm-hmm.
just the Technician
Just the
and
Technician
Daughter.
and the Daughter. Yeah.
So if I'm JDG here, if I City State, I am not going to capture on those 2
Mm-hmm.
if I can help it.
Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, okay, so 2 creatures will not get Amber from the capture. Yeah, do not play that Harbinger. That's a good discard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
interesting.
is funny always seeing. It's a cool Maverick, Star Alliance Harbinger
Yeah,
in a set that doesn't have a ton of C.
Right. I've seen some of JDG's matches where it came down to that Harbinger being the clinch card in the game, and it's just always kind of fun when you see a quirky Maverick being a linchpin in a matchup.
Yeah.
Okay, so keys are gonna be costing 8 on Dave's turn. Kirby Reaps. We're expecting City State. And that does feel like it's going to be tough for Dave to come back from. Still kind of scrolling through his fouling strike. Interesting.
Probably gonna kill Kirby's an interesting choice, but does he have a second Kirby?
He
He does. So he's
does.
gonna get the other Kirby, and then he's gonna walls to get the blaster back and draw a bit more. I like that.
Ah, very cool. Makes sense.
All
Yeah,
right. So he's
that's a heads up
got.
play.
There's the city state. Okay. He's got another play actually because he's got the second Kirby. So he's at 13. That should be enough, and I don't think there's a way for Dave to burst up enough. Not in Untamed, at least.
Yeah, and we do know at least so what five of those cards between the 7 and Hidden Archive are untamed. We're gonna see a glimmer.
It's always nice when someone plays it out like this, and they keep you thinking. Like we know everything that he had in his hand just based on everything was already out.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't think he can do it here, but it's still kind of funny to like watch him play it out and not just concede and let it end early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those grasping vines are good for 2 amber apiece, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, still not enough though. And he plays the key charge just to
Very,
show. I
very
like that.
classy.
That
Good
was a
game,
good
both.
game. Good game. Yeah, I think Dave might go back and think about those couple shadows turns. I know what he was doing. He was setting himself up. I just
Mm-hmm.
think with the board that JDG had, I think he probably would have been better served to flip his deck and try to get more like back to his value and try to use those seeds when he could to try to get rid of the Odoac. Um, I think those two turns of lost tempo, I think really let JDG run away with it.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I definitely agree with you. I'm looking at it. It's kind of easy to look at now and say we ran out of runway to make the key charge work. Should have cashed in maybe on those seeds, but hard to say when exactly that tipping point was. At least a couple turns back, I would think if you were going to do it, and maybe there was still something to hope for in reaching for that key charge. Hard to say.
I should also point out, Dave just reminded me, congrats on winning the division, he says, to JDG. So that clinched it for JDG to win the bronze division, and
Mm-hmm.
because he just needed that one win.
I think that's right. So that's right. So, and I have to refresh myself exactly on what that means, but I believe it means that JDG goes into a qualifier to play for a slot in the gold division. And I think the worst he can do now is advancing to silver. So very cool.
Do you have the NKFL season 17 sheet?
I do. Looking at it right now. Yep. So JDG now 13 wins, 0 losses. Dave at 10-3. So the best Dave could do is 12-3, putting JDG at 13-2. So certainly JDG is finishing the season in the first slot, and he's got that qualifier, gold qualifier indicator next to that position. So very cool.
Yeah, very cool. And he's 13-0 there, but there was a drop that gave him back a win. I think he was 11-1 before the drop happened, and then the way they have the drop set up is that everyone gets a win against him if anyone drops. So it is extremely impressive to already be 11-1, but now it's listed as a 13-0.
Mm-hmm.
Just unbelievable performance for that league. and they're still chatting. Hopefully they play the other games there, because these were really good decks that I was really looking forward to seeing in this format. But they are chatting and I think probably thinking about their next decks now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, likely making over to the deck selector. And interesting, there isn't a great way to spectate uh, the deck selector. I wonder if that'll be an enhancement at some point. But we'll just have to take their words on on what was done. Um, but yeah, I'm looking at this division, Bronze Alpha Division. Now this is a return to the tournament structure or the league structure of seasons past for the NKFL, which is more of a tiered kind of box league esque, if you will, if you're familiar with the term, um, with bronze promoting to silver, silver promoting to gold. And the previous season, it was sort of flat, so everybody was in a pool that would had an equal shot at the title. So this is the first division on the ladder, bronze. But looking at these names, like these are monster players, very capable up and down. There are no like easy divisions. I think there are plenty of bronze divisions that are as competitive, if not more, than the gold divisions. And certainly this is among them. Both JDG and Dave are obviously incredible competitors. Gary, Medaps, I forget who the drop was. I don't know Koresh, but both Gary and Medaps are very powerful players, very strong players.
Yeah, Medaps I think was really good player like probably a year or two ago, and then they kind of um, weren't around as much that I saw at least, and it was really cool to see them back. Maybe I just wasn't always online whenever they were, but definitely a good player from what I've played against them in the past.
So interestingly, I think my brother ran into Medaps at a different sort of event, and Medaps recognized my brother's ABR playmat, so it's kind of funny.
That reminds me of when I met Karen in person,
Oh
um,
yeah.
just like totally by chance. I've told the story a few times, but I didn't know she was in my city. I knew she had lived here at a certain point. I didn't know she was still here. And then I was just out for a drink, and then I saw her, and I was like, I think that's Karen. And I just went up to her, and she obviously had never seen me. I'd never streamed or anything at that point, and just introduced myself. It was like such a weird, like, see an internet celebrity, and you go up and talk to them, and it was just such a weird moment. Like we played this game online with like all these people from all over the world, and then you see someone in person that you recognize from playing online. It was just such a weird, surreal feeling. I don't think that's ever going to happen again.
Oh, very cool. It is a small world, as they say, and I mean, not to the same scale, but I didn't even realize that up until not too long ago, we were only about 4 hours apart from each other, and I drove kind of within striking distance of your house on at least one occasion. So very funny.
Probably very close by. We didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so we've got Hydro Veil for Dave, which is a pretty famous deck of his, and Daniela Sombra for JDG, which I've never seen before. Playing with JDG for a while, still haven't seen this one.
Yeah, I played with JDG and in at least one, maybe two ABR seasons. I don't remember this deck. May have been one that he had posted at one point on the forums, but looks pretty cool. So we've got Autumn Coder, Autovac, Grav. Ooh, some fun stuff. Yeah, but
Yeah, so
certainly.
Hydro Veil is, I think, the more famous one of Dave's between this one and the other Chinese deck that he had brought that JDG banned. I think JDG made the right call to ban the other triple stealth mode punctuated equilibrium deck because this
Hmm.
one, Hydro Veil, is more well known. But I think looking at the Eric splits and some of the other capabilities between this one and the Chinese deck, I think I would rather be playing against Hydro Veil if I'm JDG.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not doesn't mean it's going to be a pleasant experience here, as there's the first stealth mode.
No, absolutely. Hydroveil absolutely capable of looping those stealth modes indefinitely. You'll believe there's more than three in the deck,
Yeah.
especially. And this is off to what a start. We've got spears warded and being activated here. So yeah, looking like a strong start for Dave. JDG's already kind of got his work cut out for him.
He does. It was actually the second stealth mode. I missed the first one, but one of them's purged by an Infernus already. So, um, this is a tough board here to handle. You've got to kill the spears, which he's doing. Um, Yeah, that's I think a move of necessity. I don't know how much more Dissy has in hand. Not much there, you see, but JDG like prioritizing
Hmm.
killing that spears over playing a bigger hand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even without other dis in hand, I think that was a necessity unless he had a way out of hand to deal with that spears in a different house.
One thing that I liked about Daniela is the Eric split on it. It's got a 13 hammer control, 22 E, and then 11 creature control. Like those are right in the ranges to have those three that I really like. And this one has a 19 speed on top of it.
Hmm.
Um, so I really do like this deck a lot. This is a really nice deck. It's got very few creatures in it. But the Grim Reminder, I think, still could have a ton of value because each creature, each house has like really insane value creatures. You know, like there's the Ultra Gravitron, there is the Key Frog in Dark Harbinger, and there's the Pismire in Untamed, and then in this he's got the two Infernuses. So like the 13 creatures in the deck, I don't think really reduces the value of the Grim Reminder here at all. It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, I mean, getting an Infernus back is fine. Getting two is great, and like you're saying, there are great options in the other houses that you just can't feel bad about. Um, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so he doesn't actually have a board wipe in here. Let's see if he is going to manage to. Oh, he is going to have the Gravitron out, but he doesn't have anything that can handle this board right away, um, and especially nothing in Logos. He's got a Fang Tooth, which is super slow, and it's probably going to be hitting Cumex or Babbling for a while, so it's not great. Like it's not going to actually handle the board.
Hmm.
But this board by Dave is still like, even though he got rid of that Spears, it's still like a lot going on over there that you have to take care of.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have not seen the punctuated equilibrium, which is a key card to watch out for, though. Notably, autoencoder being down ahead of the PE is huge. Um, do we have a way? I'm gonna double check Dave's deck if we have a way to deal with that PE or that autoencoder. So there's the Nabil Brusnar. Okay.
Yeah. He did handle the Nabil. It was just out there a minute ago.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know. I don't think Dave has a way to get that back right away. Um, he does not. So like getting that out of the way for a bit is good with the autoencoder. He really just had to find it before the PE came out, which he did. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a good break for him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I
And
love.
Hydra Veil also, sorry, doesn't have a ton of creature control. It does have an unnatural selection. Other than that, it's not a ton. We'll see if he has it here. Yep, he does, which is huge. Um, if JDG could have got an extra turn before that unnatural selection came around, I think it would have. I mean, it obviously would have been huge. He could have purged something with the Gravitron, start fighting some things off. I think that might have been good. And there's a stealth mode. Oh man.
Whew.
uh, he plays the PE. He archives six first, and then he redraws. So like, for all we know, he could just play the Gravitron again right now. Although
Mm-hmm.
the stealth mode combo with PE is, and the even like against the autoencoder is actually pretty nice because JDG's not going to have like a huge value turn here just because he's got 11 in archive, six in hand. He can't
Yep.
play the action. So um, I wonder if he has another Infernus, and if so, he can get rid of the stealth modes for good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a solid option. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's gonna have many great plays other than maybe an attack with the existing Infernus. Playing the other one would be nice.
Yeah,
Um, but
he definitely has it actually, but it might be in his archive.
Dave's going to. Oh, yep, yep. And Dave's going to at least have one more turn with this Star Alliance board, or at least the majority of the Star Alliance board. So maybe calculated to get some reach, make some progress in this race, even at the expense of boosting JDG's archives.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and like a Waking Nightmare here would have been nice if he could play it, but he can't. Um, so I guess he's probably thinking like, do I go into Logos and play the key lock and at least make him forge for +3?
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's gonna go dis, and he's gonna take his whole archive, which is probably just because the Infernus was in there.
Mm. Discards Grim Reminder. Okay. Would have been interesting too to fight him with the Infernus and then re-archive it. Probably not worth it, especially with Dave about to flip
Yeah,
the deck.
yeah. With the AE, then I think I'm fine with him discarding all of his actions here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think he probably wants to find the Gravitron again as soon as he can, but um, yeah, he's gonna fight off one of the creatures. That's a good move. Just discard some more stuff. Yep. So was that one, two, three, four, 5 discards from out of the 16 in his hand. So like again, it was like another dis turn where he didn't really like play the most cards or even discard the most cards with the auto encoder. He just did what he had to do, which was
Mm-hmm.
use the Infurnish on the stealth mode.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Dave bolsters the Star Alliance board with a Tabor. Interesting. So could info exchange, very nice. Gonna get some reaps. Gets a reap on an award on the CXO. Getting the 7 and plays an unsuspecting prey. Okay, very good. Cool.
Yeah, so I think JDG's got to go Logos just to get the key lock out of there. He can't do anything about this board. Like we talked about, the creature control in here is very lacking. I guess his other option would be to go to Untamed and use the Lost in the Woods and use the Harbinger to like repeatedly fight. But it's gonna die after what, 2 fights probably. So like I'm not sure how much value that has either.
Hmm. So Fangtooth comes down. Yeah, I don't know. Good question on the Harbinger. I think managing the board
There's
is kind of a priority.
What if? Well, he's got 2 Growth Surge. I wonder if he has both of them, and if so, like that really gives his Harbinger a lot more staying power to fight off a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's doing some math right now, I'm sure. JDG thinking. Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, who do you play the Lost in the Woods on? Like, do you shuffle back in your Key Frog? Probably. I think you have to do that. I think you want to keep your Pismire out, so he's probably gonna just reap with the Key Frog. I guess he
Mm-hmm.
could also fight with it. That'll let him forge and kill something.
Oh, that's fair too.
But then if you do that, then your Lost in the Woods has to hit either your Pismire or your Harbinger, which you don't want. I guess
Mm-hmm.
the Pismire, I don't want to do it on the Pismire. I think these are both viable paths for him to take, but I don't think I would want to use it on the Pismire, so I'd probably just shuffle back in the Key Frog and save it for another day.
Yeah, I don't hate that play. Song of the Wild, very cool.
He's going to try to burst instead of fight, and I think that's probably going to come down to like how many growth surges does he have. If he only has one, I don't know if he had played one earlier and shuffled it back in and maybe hasn't got to it yet. Like, but to me, the growth surges I think are are going to be the key on whether or not he's going to reap or if he's going to fight.
Hmm.
Oh, so the mutation of Fury, interesting. So that gives him Assault 3. So that will help him survive more. But that Arms Master is still pretty pesky with the Hazardous 3.
Yep. Pismire. So the Pismire is interesting. With that down, we could get a forge and then drop the Drop the key lock on the next turn. Don't hate that. Okay, so we're forging now. Grow Surge. Okay. Now, are we going to see fights? That's the question. Okay.
Yeah. And a mutation of Cunning, which will give him Elusive. He doesn't have Skirmish, though, does he?
Does not have Skirmish, I think, just the Assault. Now Cunning, giving it a mutant trait.
Okay, that's nice. The Rapid Evolution as well.
Oh, no
I think he rule
Pismire.
6'd it.
Okay.
Yeah, no Pismire. Interesting. Obviously a great turn. I mean, he needed to get rid of that board.
Yeah.
He ended up using the Fangtooth on Daughter. I feel like I might have rather used it on the walls, just to not let him continue to go back into Star and just reap out.
Yeah, so the Cloaking Dongle is coming back. Let's see, do we go back in? 1, 2, 3, 4. So four amber on the board and an out-of-house play with Tabor. Play or use. Yeah, really interesting. So let's see what kind of Dave has coming up. The three stealth modes are purged, so we're not worried about those. Still a whole bunch of Untamed.
He doesn't have a ton of Amber control in this deck, though. He's got
Not a
one
ton.
Edie, one Garcia, which I think is in discard. No, it's not.
Info Exchange,
yeah,
Cutthroat, and Mustoke.
Yeah, it's possible that JDG can win the race here. He does have the key lock still coming up. He's probably going to play it. Hydra Veil does have some hard R with the Nabil. But we could see JDG come out with like the key lock and the autovac, which could help him kind of like delay things a bit, find his other Infernus again, maybe Lost in the Woods, both the Infernuses, like win that kind of grind. But I still think if I'm Dave, I'm probably going to go Star here and just get as much Amber as I can while I can.
Yeah. Try to get to 6.
Going to go Untamed. Maybe he's got a bigger Untamed hand than we give him credit for.
The Mustoke's fun. He could have the Flaxia. Okay, Bramblelings. Unsuspecting Prey. Throw some damage down. PE. Okay, filling up JDG's archives. Wow.
So he discarded the autovac and the key lock. Interesting. So he opted for a big disruption turn to get rid of those Logos artifacts. But dang, he archived 9 cards because he had a 9-card hand. That was almost all Logos.
Yeah, Dave had to assume it was pretty much all Logos at that point too, right?
Yeah, he hadn't called Logos for a while. Okay, so he's back into Untamed. This could be another huge Harbinger turn. So, is the Rustnar a priority here? I mean, I think he's kind of unlikely to go right back into Untamed. He only drew 1 card, but it would kind of hurt to have the Rustnar. Well, he can't survive a fight, actually.
Yeah.
He can't. No, the Harbinger is elusive now. He's just going to go for the race. I don't think that's a bad call at all.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think there aren't. Let's see, if we get above 7, then I don't think Untamed is an option.
He didn't even take his archive there either.
No.
So, like, if you're a PE player and you see them put down the autoencoder, like, how does that change your approach to it? Dave is kind of just he's throwing it out there. I mean, Dave had no fear in playing this game.
Yeah.
Um,
I think so. I think that second one especially was a reasonable play. I mean, JDG's hand pretty much all logos, including a couple known problematic cards that are sitting in there, right? And you have to assume that the archives that you're giving are probably dirty. So yeah, there's some advantage, but is the kind of incremental that you have from a dirty archive, and then having to sequence the turns from after which you pull the archive, um, more more beneficial than having a 9 card logos hand and 8 card logos hand? Probably not, to be honest. I mean, it's questionable, but I mean, uh, hitting the key lock especially, I think was really important. And I think Dave was probably digging for the Murmuk and Flaxia there, and maybe was sad to not find either. Um,
mm,
but those would have been really important cards to hit. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think that's gonna do it right there. I don't think Dave can take him off 10.
Let's see, we could see Cutthroat, Tao Tao, Eddie, maybe.
Yeah, that's still not gonna be enough. I don't think.
Not gonna be enough.
Oh, I guess that would. He would need to also have an information exchange. Yeah, he's going for the Chaos Portal to try to find one of his answers. Oh, he did archive an extra with Chaos Portal, didn't he? No, he didn't.
Okay,
That's game. Yeah.
good game. Good game, both. Yeah, great game, both players.
JDG going for a sweep is man, that's a huge ask in this matchup. Like Dave, obviously like one of the best players in the game, but his decks too are also like just super nasty and scary.
Mm-hmm.
So this is super impressive from JDG to win the first two of this already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is already very impressive. Very impressive result. Okay, we'll start game
So
three.
now talk for a second about the game three of the the Hexad format here because they don't know what the other one's playing still because they have four decks total at their disposal, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
both of them could go anywhere. Like what's your thought process for choosing a deck in game four, game three?
So yeah, so this is almost like just traditional biad. So both players have two decks to choose from. You're looking at their two decks, your two decks, and just finding your deck that you think matches up best against either their anticipated selection or their combined options. I think JDG still has Sagacious. I'd be almost a little surprised if JDG didn't choose Sagacious, especially with this being. I mean, JDG would obviously love to have a sweep and have an undefeated season, but I think this is also kind of like one of their favorite decks. So I'd
Hmm.
be a little bit surprised not to see it just for that reason alone, and I almost, for a similar reason, kind of expect Dave to go with Caruso,
Hmm.
um, but could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this is absolutely the match where you have the most information. And the NKFL counts games for standings, not match results. So each game is just as important as any other, um, and this is the one where you have the most information. So there's a lot of posturing that went to the selections up until this point, and now it's kind of like, okay, everything's on the table. Make your best selection and see what you can do. But so let's see, what do we have remaining? I want to make sure I
Yeah.
don't
So we've got
misspeak.
Caruso that you mentioned, and then Dave also has oddly ubiquitous Villano,
Mm-hmm.
which is another Coda deck with the Fagin and four Urchins. It just to me looks like a straight value deck for Coda. It doesn't have like tons of crazy stuff. It has too much to protect and graft, but it's not like a library access combo deck. It doesn't have a library access. It doesn't have like Sagacious has the Hypnotic Command. Oddly, Ubiquitous does not have that in its Mars. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's an 89 SAS, but it looks like it's coming straight from just value and like scaling A and like the Fagin and Urchins, things like that. But it also has very low C. So um, another, I think it'd be another risky play
Yeah, I've
just for the C
seen
alone.
I've seen this deck before, and I think you're 100% right. Plays like a Coda value deck. There's, yeah, no C to speak of. Sagacious is probably not looking to build a gigantic board, though the Mars can get out of control absolutely with the Hypnotic Command. Yeah.
You were talking about how Dave probably was going to play Caruso. It's his most fun, but he did go with the Coda, so we have a Coda matchup now to
All
close it out.
right. Let's see.
So JDG playing Sagacious, like you said, he's got double Mimicry in there. Other than that, pretty low C. However, oddly Ubiquitous doesn't has even less C. So like when I look at the double Mimicry and I see low C in the deck, I'm like, oh well, it's okay. The Mimicries are usually going to count for your C, but in this matchup, he's not even. He doesn't even have very much C in his opponents, so it's going to be. I think we might see some pretty big boards here.
Mm-hmm.
18 and 17 creatures is not like a crazy number, but there's not many ways to take them off the board. And Hypnotic Command is just insane. Um, like what a crazy card that is.
Indeed. And a really funny first turn here with Treasure Map and then Mimicry Treasure Map. Very funny.
That's a 4 amber Mimicry. What can you say?
Yeah. Yeah, hard to pass that up. And let's see. Yeah, so both also have some scaling steel. So yeah, very possible we will see big boards and folks being reticent to burst too high.
Yeah, but JDG's got triple grabber jammer. Um, Dave does not. Dave's A comes from Shatterstorm, Ether Spider, too much to protect the urchins, and then the graft, obviously. So like, not a ton of amber control and logos for Dave. Um, they're playing real fast. Gonna have trouble keeping up here.
Yeah, they're both know these decks very well. Both, I mean, lots of decision points to be sure, but much more straightforward game plans compared to the two that we just saw. But
Yeah.
okay, JDG
I
going
mean,
into a
that's
library
Coda.
access turn. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, he's got. Okay, so this is cool. So he can play the Psychic Bug to see what he's got, and know whether or not he should play the Graft here, or whether or not he should burst, because he might be facing up against the TMTP. So, really interesting Psychic Bug. Oh, he did reveal it. Sweet, we can see it. He does have a TMTP,
yeah.
and an Urchin. So, yeah, what do you do then? You know he's got a TMTP. Like, what number do you go to?
Yeah, great question. And do you play your graft?
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna forge for 7 because of the grabber jammer. He went to 6.
So went to 6.
So
We know there's an urchin in shadows. Yeah, some
yeah,
Dave going
that may have,
logos.
that may be all he could have done. Maybe he couldn't go any higher.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, Rocket Boots,
There's the
Dexter.
Dexter. I just said he has almost no A in logos, and he does have a Dexter. That was the only thing he had, and I was like, he's not gonna. Dexter's not gonna make a big deal. But this is actually huge because knowing that he's got the TMTP, the Dexter just taking him off track is like such an annoyance for JDG to handle that.
Absolutely. Rocket Boots on the Mother. Very cool. Yeah, it would have been interesting to if there was a creature Mother could have. I guess Mother had no ways to fight and die because of the Shadow Selves, but you would have
Hmm.
almost loved to let that Archivist slide over next to the Shadow Self train and
Hmm.
get some Rocket Boots.
That's true.
Okay, Untamed for JDG, and I don't. Well, there is a key charge that was discarded on turn 1,
Yeah.
so not going to be an option here. Hunting Witch comes down. Okay. Okay, stopping at 6. Asking Dave if Dave wants to play an urchin.
Did he forget to play? Oh no, he didn't. He discarded the full moon because he didn't want to burst too high. Interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, that does make it more annoying when an urchin comes down and takes you off, and Dave's refilling his hand now, and he might have like the Fagin come down too, and um, interesting. He's going Logos.
Oh, takes the
and he's
bug.
just trying. Yeah, he's just trying to win the race. It looks like,
Yeah, and
knowing that.
cool that he
Yeah.
stole a bug to get that information. You know, not grabbing the witch.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I had to play Reap Effect, but he just fought with it.
Very cool.
So he didn't even get to use it.
Yeah, I would have been tempted to leave the bug. How about you get the forge? Nice. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I guess knowing that your opponent's going to forge there, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think
Yeah,
he's trying to win the game before the hypnotic command can really make a big difference.
that does make sense. It's interesting though,
Yeah.
because we know Dave still has an urchin and Team TP in hand. I don't know. Would you have been tempted to go shadows there to take JDG off of check?
Um, I think how much amber did he gain last turn for that Logos turn? I mean, he fought with Dexter, and then he how did he get it back with the Library of Babel?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then he reaped with the Archivist and archived. He reaped with Mother twice, so he gained what 3 amber on that turn. Um, I mean, I guess if I don't know, if I were him, I probably would have tried to reap a bit more, but he wanted to get rid of that witch, so both witches actually.
Mm.
I think if Dave gets, next turn here, if he forges here, he might just go straight back into Logos and check at 6.
Yeah, I think I actually really like holding the TMTP and urchin there. I wonder.
Yeah, I
Let's
mean,
see. Do we know
when
what
I'm
was
playing, like,
archived?
I don't think we know. He archived with the Archivist last turn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like the first key to me is like not a huge deal. Like I don't know if I'd hold the TMTP, um, but how about that irradiated amber doing some major damage there, like acting like a board wipe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that could be a huge play, and he sets up a Mars board. I was just gonna say that like the TMTP, like taking him off check for the first key is like not a huge deal. Like they're eventually gonna get that first key. So I'm fine holding on to the TMTP for a more impactful key later in the game, and trying to maximize the value you get from it.
Mm-hmm. Dueling
And we've got.
ether spiders.
Oh man, have you ever seen that in a game?
No.
Like I didn't play a ton during Coda, um, but I don't think I've seen double spiders.
That is really funny. Yeah, so if one spider dies, does the one that is on the other side get all the amber off of it?
Yeah.
I think so, right? Yeah.
Well, they would gain. No, if your spider dies, your opponent gets the amber, so you don't have a spider out, so it wouldn't get it.
I mean, sure, sure. Yep. No, it makes total sense. Not even a reasonable question.
It's confusing though. Like you don't see this very often. There's like weird interactions like that can always pop up.
Yeah, and very funny too with these spiders collecting amber and both players threatening scaling steel.
Yep, he's gonna start fighting it.
Hmm.
Yeah, just get rid of it now.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, I was also gonna say you kind of do need to fight off their Mars board too. I'd probably check here though. I think I'd reap with the last one.
I like going to check here.
Yeah, just to make him play either the Dexter or the Urchin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Dexter in hand, urchin in hand. Okay, so we'll see the urchin come down surely. Will we
Yeah, let's
see
see if
the team TP held or not? Yeah. Probably.
this is some impressive back and forth, I have to say, because the way this game started, JDG was like really in a hole, and then you see the TMTP in there, and you're like even bigger of a hole. But he's fought back in this one really well. pretty quickly, and now he's got a huge Mars board that um, that's pretty nice to see.
Mm-hmm. JG yet to play their graft. Almost have to think that, given how much Amber is on JDG's side of the board, Dave's probably thinking that he's holding that TMTP to counter the graft when it comes.
Yeah, but the other thing is that JDG still has another mimicry,
Mm-hmm.
which he can use on the TMTP. So
Double
like,
mimicry, yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, Dave might be trying to wait until he shuffles before he plays the TMTP.
Play it right before shuffle makes a lot of sense. The key cost increases doing a lot of work here. Very cool. Very cool to see. Obviously, right now, Dave's at 1 Amber, but combined with the other tools in the deck, they are great. Yeah. Okay, so we're leaving the Faggot on board. Let's see.
Bold strategy.
Bold strategy. Back into shadows.
I don't know if he could have taken it off though. He didn't. He doesn't have anything they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna see a bunch of steals here.
Yeah, there's urchin number 4. All urchins accounted for. The spider getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Does Dave have a way to kill the spider in shadows? No.
Not outside of throwing his entire squad of thieves at it.
Yeah. Not recommended.
Not recommended.
And he's getting near the bottom. JDG's getting near the bottom of his deck, which means that the Hypnotic Command is coming up soon.
Yep. Yeah, you wonder if JDG would let the spider die in order to get value out of the Hypnotic Command. I don't know. Only 5? Then it would only be 4. For Mars creatures on board. How many more do we have here? 8 in total.
I think he's got 8 total.
So 2 more in the deck. 2 more. 1 more Grabber Jammer and another Marauder. Is that right? Yeah. No.
2 more Grabber Jammer and... Oh, no, maybe that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 8 total, but one of them's already killed.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
so
wow.
he's going to go up to 6. He's going to Nature's Call back Dave's entire board. And the mechanic is going to let him forge for 5 here unless Dave can do something about it. Which I'm not sure if he can in his Mars.
We've seen the soft landing get played already.
He has a Shatterstorm, but he doesn't have... I mean, he'll lose, I guess, 3 for it, which would take him off check, but that's a real weak Shatterstorm. You kind of want to like save that for more than that.
Yeah. So could see a deep probe into Shatterstorm? Might be interesting. So there's the deep probe. Okay. Discarding the Logos creatures. So Mother and Mother, just Mother. Okay, but no Shatterstorm.
Okay, he's got the information. He's got the Mimicry and the Graft, so Dave knows he's got to shuffle.
Mm-hmm. JG going right back into Mars, gonna make himself get to check here again.
So, if I'm looking at this correctly, Dave has 9 shadows in discard, which includes his Regrowth Maverick, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And if he's got 3 shadows in hand, unless I'm missing some kind of efficiency, he cannot shuffle if he calls shadows. Am I right?
See, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
You counting the
7,
regrowth?
8. I'm not counting the regrowth. 9. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like JDG here can just reap with impunity and ignore the TMTP basically, right? Like
Hmm.
even if he TMTPs, I actually don't even know if that'll take him off check because he's got the mechanic out too.
Because of the mechanic. Yeah, the mechanic's really nice there. So the Relentless Whispers could be good for a steal, but 5 is still going to be a key. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's a really good point.
I think he's got the Shatterstorm.
He does
We
have the
know that.
Shatterstorm
So
coming. Hmm.
um, might be a good reason to, well, you have to check, but you also kind of want to get rid of the tunk too.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
I
his
would.
squawker on John Smith is huge. That lets him check and it lets him get rid of the tunk.
Oof,
That might be game.
that is very
This deck is,
strong.
Sagacious is just, it's nasty. Like, I'm not afraid of a lot of Coda decks, but like this one just is, it's so ridiculous. Like what it can do, and we haven't even seen the Hypnotic Command.
Mm-mm. The Mimicry's put it over the top for me. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
mm-hmm.
I don't think, yeah, that's it.
Nicely played,
So,
both.
man, Coda games are like fast paced, you know? Like, they're so much fun. Wow. 3-0 for JDG is just, what can you say? Like, hats off. Like, that's a really incredible finish here to this already extremely impressive season that he had over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I didn't even realize till late in the game that there was the Maverick regrowth, which is super cool. Dave's got some busting out some nice Mavericks for this match, but he didn't play Caruso. Um, I think maybe at this point it was more of a fun thing. Didn't impact the standings. Um, Wanted to try something different. I mean, I'm sure he knows it well, but um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I
just
think he honestly may have looked at this and said, Caruso is likely to be a grind. This the standings are kind of locked in. let's
yeah,
let's let's do
that
something fun. Yeah.
he may have just wanted to make it faster, win or lose.
Hmm.
Um, Not that it's a bad deck, but man, so Sagacious, JDG's been playing this one for a bit now. Um, it's just, it's such a cool deck. Like, I don't have a ton of Coda that I love. I don't have anything close to this, obviously. Um, but I just love how versatile it is, despite having like the low C and no R. Um, but like the Graft and Hypnotic Command, the Psychic Bug just letting you like play around your opponent's hand a bit more. He's
Hmm.
got some great library access synergy in there. Who doesn't love a huge Mars board? Like it's got so much cool stuff in there. Just very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm if I'm not mistaken, this is a deck that JDG actually opened. So doubly cool in that respect. It's not like some monster that JDG tracked down on the secondary market. This was like
Yeah,
$10, peel off the sticker, and a monster lurks within. So really cool.
so really cool deck. Yeah,
I remember from an ABR season, um, practicing practicing net deck with JDG. JDG playing Sagacious, or was it net deck or was it just Archon? I remember JDG was playing against Big Z, and we were practicing Sagacious against Galaxy Techno. So I guess it could have been Archon or it could have been NetDeck, and probably
yeah,
both players would have had similar choices. I don't know, but
yeah. I remember the net deck, and that was the only time I'd ever played against Caruso. Actually, was one of I think it was one of Dave's teammates in ABR chose to net deck Caruso. That was the only time I ever played against it. But uh, yeah, like Sagacious is definitely one of those crazy things out there. I don't know. I'm not sure if it would make like a net deck choice. because there's like some other just meme level Coda decks out there.
Yeah.
Um, but still, nonetheless, it's like great deck. Um,
Mm-hmm.
nice to see like the spread of Coda. They each had three Worlds Collide decks. I thought we'd see. Let's see, we didn't see a couple of them. I think there were some bans. Yeah, so um, and they ended up not playing their remaining Worlds Collide, so it could have been much more Worlds Collide heavy tonight than it was.
I think the bird, Sultan the Bird. I think that was a new one JDG added this season.
It looks like it was opened in July, so fairly new. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
must have
Mm-hmm.
been part of that Asmodee fire sale.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a strong one.
Um,
Very
yeah,
cool.
the Sultan the Bird Ying has the Imperial Forge, Double Tribute, Senator Shrix, and Tribune Pompeius. So definitely has the ability to pull off the Imperial Forge, triple Eddy, double TMTP. Like, man, these lineups. So I'm not in the NKFL, and only recently, like with the fire sale and some online purchases that I've made, like, do what I even feel like remotely competitive in this Nordic Hexad format. But like seeing these monsters that these two guys brought, like, man, these things are really really good decks and obviously really good players too. So I think the reason I hadn't done NKFL before was mostly the time zone.
Mm-hmm.
But you're an East Coast just like I am, and you've managed to schedule games, I guess, fairly regularly.
Fairly regularly. It turns out that Central European evenings tend to be very convenient for me, which might not be the case for most folks who are in the Eastern U.S., but it did work out that way. So I haven't had any issues scheduling, and folks are generally pretty good about playing on a weekend if you need to. Now, whether or not you love, you know, playing a 3 game series on a weekend, they do take a while. Is I guess a different question, but I've never had an issue scheduling, and folks are typically open to splitting up a match. So if you just get in one, need to get the third game in some other time. The tool that they use handles incomplete matches that need to be finished later. So it kind of works out all right, but it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm more of a if I play against a European player or a different time zone anywhere in the world, it usually ends up being on a weekend, which I don't mind, and I usually play early in my morning, which I
Mm-hmm.
also don't mind. So um, I just wouldn't be able to schedule like an entire leg. Like when most of the leg is you know based in Northern Europe, then um, it's hard for me to like imagine that I'd be able to schedule so many games against so many different people in that same time zone. And afternoons during the week are unfortunately not easy for me. So it's a really cool format. Maybe we'll see something like that come to a U.S. time zone
Mm-hmm.
sometime. It's pretty cool though, and I'm eager to see more of it. I'm really glad we got the chance to stream this one tonight.
Yeah. I will say, kind of on this vein, though, I do feel that the Hexad format sort of delivers on the idea or the promise of Triad, which was that you don't have to have the best decks, but if you craft your lineup well and you have a clear strategy going in, you think about your bans and your safes, then you can kind of make your you know uh, you know get more out of your lineup than the sum of its parts, if you will. And I think that Hexed format really does deliver on that. In Triad, I still very often feel like I'm best off maybe just bringing my 3 best decks and seeing how that goes. And maybe that's just because I haven't given it as much thought, but I think in Hexad there's a lot more room to maneuver as you whittle from 6 down to 4, have a safe, and then you don't have to get stuck with a worse deck. Every time you play a deck, win or lose, you move on. So you really are setting up 3 matchups and trying to position yourself for game wins across the season rather than match wins. So just, I don't know, interesting dynamic. The uh, I really like the way that plays out and how you can position yourself for some game wins that you might not have the three best decks uh, between you and your opponent, but if you have a decent one in the top four, and then you can get scrappy with the bottom two, then you can kind of really make something happen. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I bet we could talk about this one a lot. But we have also talked about getting JDG on Bottom of the Beaker one week and talking about the format since he's been pretty successful in it this season. So we can save some material for whenever that week comes, whether that's going to be in next week or the week after. I'm not sure when, but we've definitely talked about it. I think it'll probably be a topic in the pretty near future.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, got any ideas for a sign-off line?
No, I liked Crusader's suggestion of just playing the theme music of was it Arrested Development or is it Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Curb Your
Curb. Yeah, I think
Enthusiasm.
Curb theme music. Yeah, you got that one queued up. We can just do that.
It's queued, ready to go. All right. So I guess, yeah. Thanks, folks. Thanks for joining up. Sorry I hadn't been watching the chat too closely. We are streaming with a delay, and I didn't think folks would be too interesting and engaging in a really long delay conversation. But appreciate some folks for joining us. Yeah, folks saying the fact that this was a bronze division is wild. It is wild. Um, the quality of players index, just top to bottom, was outstanding in this league. But congrats to JG.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks. I don't know. Anything else? Anything else from your side?
No, no. I think that's it. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again on Tuesday night
All
here
right.
on Sloppy Lab Work.
Sounds good. Catch you all back at the lab then.